This is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. You know, as we go through life, there's a lot of things we take for granted. We take for granted our jobs, we take for granted our families, we take for granted our friends. We take for granted that they're always going to be there. Less than a month ago, I had breakfast with a group of friends who are retirees from the state of Wisconsin, as am I. And we sat around and reminisced, and we had a great time. One of the men that was present was a man named John McCrary. Sergeant John McCrary. I'm going to give you a little backstory on Sergeant John McCrary. John McCrary joined the Army when he was a young man and served more than 20 years in the United States Army, including 4 tours of duty in Vietnam. Once Sergeant McCrary was done serving his country in the Army, he continued to serve the people of the country and of the state of Wisconsin by becoming a correctional officer. That was a position that he held for more than 30 years. Now, I met Sergeant John McCrary when I was a young officer myself. I was assigned to train Sergeant John McCrary, so I got to know him a little bit when we worked together. We worked together for almost 2 weeks, and I tried to teach him what I could. But he was a very wise man, and he told me a few things that had happened to him in Vietnam. Now, Sergeant McCrary was a decorated veteran of Vietnam. He told me some stories of things that happened in Vietnam that I'm sure that he didn't tell a whole lot of other people. And if you met Sergeant John McCrary and you would have asked him what he did in Vietnam, he would have told you that he was security at the USO shows. Well, his service went a lot further than being security for the USO shows. The medals that he earned showed that. Sergeant John McCrary worked as a sergeant when I was a captain as well. Now, we had breakfast together October 12th. We had breakfast together. And at that breakfast, there was myself, there was Sergeant McCrary, some other officers that have retired. And it was kind of funny because at that point, John brought up the time that he and I stood shoulder to shoulder in a riot at a maximum security institution. It was the beginning of January. It was about 6 degrees outside, and it was just bone-numbing cold. And John and I were standing next to each other. We were in an unarmed line of officers as the inmates were starting to surrender. We were the buffer between them and the weapons. Well, after everything cleared out and we were escorting inmates, we'd been outside for quite a length of time, and it was about 5 degrees. We weren't dressed very warm. And at one point, there was a small break, and Sergeant McCrary and I went in a building to get warmed up. And at that point, we realized that it was a warehouse for inmate laundry. Well, one of the things we found in this warehouse for inmate laundry was new long johns. So without a word, Sergeant John McCrary and I both stripped off our riot gear, we stripped off our uniforms, and we put on some brand new insulated underwear and geared up again. And then we went out and we told the other guys on our ERU team, Emergency Response Unit, hey, there's long johns in there. Well, within a matter of minutes, there was probably 20, 25 officers standing around after they shed their uniforms in their underwear looking for long johns that would fit them, and they ultimately found it all. And we laughed about it. We thought that just reminiscing about that was a good time. And that was just one of the things. I knew that when John was standing next to me at that riot, that he had my back, and he knew that I had his back. Sergeant John McCrary died last week. John had contracted COVID, and he passed away. Now, John, for anybody who's read my book, if you want to get an idea of what John McCrary was about, one of my characters in my books is called Sergeant Murphy, and Sergeant Murphy is based directly on Sergeant John McCrary. Now, Sergeant John McCrary is going to be missed. He's going to be missed because he was a husband, he was a father, he was a grandfather. In fact, he was a father to some of his grandchildren. He's going to be missed as a friend. He's going to be missed as a patriot. I know I'm having breakfast with my friends this coming Thursday. And 3 weeks ago, had I made that request, John would have been there. He's not going to be there. And I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him as a friend. I'm going to miss him as a fellow former officer. I'm going to miss him as a patriot. And I'm going to miss him for the love that he gave to his family. Sergeant John McCrary was a good man. He spent his life serving his country. He spent his life building his family. And he is a man that I will remember. He is a man that I will miss. So John, I salute you. You were a good man. You were my friend. You'll be missed. Until next time, stay safe and watch your back.